Let's get this going. Gosh, it's so great to get to sit down with you officially. And, you know, with all the hoopla of last week, I know your life has been very, very busy. So we appreciate you for giving your time today, Coach Silverfield. I want to start off because you've touched on it a little bit. You wanted to come to Arkansas. You said other schools, they've reached out, other programs, but you wanted to be here. What exactly drew you to Arkansas?
Yeah, there's so much rich history and tradition here. I think you look at it and I had an understanding of everything this program was about. You know, obviously having played them during the season, got to get a feel for what their roster was. And, you know, more than anything, I knew a lot of the guys about here. You know, this great state, I know there's great high school football here. I'd recruited so many of the guys on the current roster when I was at Memphis. And so it was just kind of that connection. I always felt like this place is truly a sleeping giant. I know they've had some success in the past, and we've got to build upon and go back and reach that success and find ways to build upon that and really get this thing back to the expectation that everybody thinks that it should be at, and that's playing with high standards. And so I knew this place has untapped potential, and it's our job to get it there.
How do you start doing that? You talked in the press conference about even changing the light bulbs in the building, that it starts with that mindset that even the small can be something to catapult you into success. Is that kind of been your philosophy throughout coaching?
For sure. I mean, every detail matters, everything matters. And what happened was how that all came about. I had actually, went down to go meet the team for the first time. And the first time I walked through the building, it was all dark anyways. And they said, okay, well, you're going to meet the team. But that was my first time even stepping down the stairs. And I said, okay, wait, why is it so dark in here? Let's turn up the lights. And they said they are up. I said, no, we're going to do things a little bit different. And we're not going to have a loser mentality. We're going to be great at everything we do. I don't care if we got to repaint the doors like we've already done this week. We're already tearing up some grass. We're changing a lot of things around here. 2 wins won't cut it. And so everything has to change for the better. And it starts by the players and doing things around them and building this around them. And everybody says, well, how do you plan to get this thing done? I think you look at what we did in the first 48 hours, flipping some recruits, and this great state of Arkansas and keeping them home was a huge part of that.
We're going to talk about that, but before we get into that, I kind of want to go into your background because you have a very unique background in general. You started coaching when you were 18, and I don't think a lot of people know this, but you didn't play college football. You had a career-ending injury, and so you started coaching a lot sooner than maybe a lot of others who have started their coaching careers. What made you want to go into coaching, and how has that experience just from when you were 18, starting in the high school ranks, has helped you now being in the collegiate ranks?
For sure. I did start coaching spring my senior year of high school at the age of 18. I'm entering my 28th year of coaching. And so people look at it, I said, the gray is from a lot of years of coaching. Let's call it what it is. But it was unique. I had a neck injury. Was never going to play anywhere big time, but ultimately it ended my goals of playing in college, and so I started coaching at the age of 20. I was the youngest defensive line coach, youngest position coach in all of college football at Hampton-Sydney College, a small Division III school in Virginia. I was a 23-year-old head high school coach in Georgia, and then kind of moved up, and I was very fortunate. Spent 7 years coaching in the NFL, and then ultimately spent 10 years at Memphis. I was loyal to the place. It was good for me. The last 6 as a head coach. And now, really, this is where I'm home, and this is what it's all about. But I think you learn so much in those experiences from so many other people, so many other coaches, from the players that led me to here today. It's been a unique journey, but it's led me to this.
Do you feel like, because you were loyal to Memphis, you got to spend 6 years as the head coach there, a lot of people go, well, he doesn't have SEC coaching experience. You laugh at that. You're laughing at that right now, but you look back on your NFL experience. I mean, how many coaches have had your path? It's incredibly unique. I mean, you can lean on all of those different experiences to prepare you for taking over an SEC program, right?
For sure. I do laugh at that. One, I don't know how many head coaches in college football under the age of 50 coached for 7 years in the NFL. I don't think there's any, right? And then also I've had, Coach Belichick's coached for a long time in the NFL. A little bit older, and this is his first year finishing up as a head college coach where I've had that experience. I also laugh when people said, well, he doesn't have that SEC experience. That's great. When these guys may have been, some of these other coaches around the conference may have been, coaching or a grad assistant in the SEC or grad assistants at smaller schools. I also had the fortune of working with guys like Brett Favre and Adrian Peterson, right, and Calvin Johnson. So I think that makes up for it. And I hope Arkansas fans appreciate, man, this guy was loyal. I had the opportunity to go to SEC schools many, many times as a position coach, go back to the NFL as a position coach, but I stayed loyal to a place. led me to be the head coach at Memphis for a long time. I was loyal to them, even when other schools came calling, until the right opportunity came for me. And so I think it's got to resonate well with Arkansas fans. Man, there's a dude that did the right way. Oh, by the way, that's 7 years, right, in the NFL, and then the last 10 at Memphis. Like I always tell these high school recruits, for really your entire, from birth to now, I've either coached at Memphis or the NFL, and they sit there and say, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's very impressive. I mean, you just name dropped some big names in the NFL too, and I think Arkansas fans are going, oh yeah, he has experience to do this job. I want to touch on that NFL experience, you know, coaching with the Vikings, coaching with the Lions as well. I talked to Reed Bauer the other day, and he said something that really resonated with me. He said, look, people don't understand. I played at Arkansas, and I played under Coach Silverfield at Memphis. He runs his practices like NFL. He runs the program like an NFL program. What's a Ryan Silverfield practice look like? How do you structure it, and how do you plan on structuring it here at Arkansas?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys I've had that cross connection with. Right? Even Simeon Blair, who was a captain here at Arkansas, played for us at Memphis. Bray Cook, captain here at Arkansas, was a grad assistant for me at Memphis. And then guys like Travis Swanson, who I coached with the Detroit Lions, who played here. So there's a lot of guys. There's some Vikings that I looked up. I said, I forgot that I coached them. They're reaching out and saying, hey, you remember when you had the opportunity to coach me? So here's the deal. Our practices are going to be very, very tough. All right, we're going to coach our guys very, very hard. We're going to be demanding, and we're going to be detailed. Just like you talked about earlier with the lights and everything else and painting the doors, no stone is left unturned at practice, okay? Everybody sits there and says, man, he's got a lot of energy, all that. Yeah, most of the day I'm pretty calm, cool, and collected, like I'm having the conversation right now. But once we get in between these white lines, I turn it back on, just like fans got to see me in front of those student section at the basketball game. I'm a lunatic, but it's directed, all right, to making sure we're getting better. We play with a lot of energy, passion, enthusiasm. I think the fans will see that.
I think you're exactly right on that, and I know you're not lying for the cameras or anything like that, because Reed says you guys don't understand. I think he could have been in the WWE or like a Pat McAfee type if he wasn't doing this. I mean, that's how your players see you, especially on the practice field. It's that energy that they said when you were down at Memphis in games, that you came into the locker room, and it's that energy, that passion that you had that really said, we can do this. We can turn this around. Can you expand on that for people that don't really understand what it's like to be in a practice with you where you're getting in people's faces? Where does that energy come from for you?
Well, you know, I don't do a lot of caffeine, right? Everybody says, all the staff's like, we got your coffee. You know, when I'm in the office at 4 a.m., I don't drink coffee. You know, I stay away from the Mountain Dews and the Red Bulls. I think just part of it is you got to love what you do. And if you love what you do, you're always on. You know, I woke up this morning, I said, okay, I'm going to try sleep in. Everybody keeps saying, get some sleep, coach. You got those wrinkles on the bags under your eyes. You got to get some sleep at some point. But when you wake up with a thought and you're so excited to put it in motion, now I'm sure the rest of the staff, the rest of the people, the administration saying, hey, can you wait till like 5 a.m. before you ping us and hit us up? But it's just because you love what you do. I'm so excited to rebuild this thing at Arkansas. It's no different. When I was at Memphis, being around those guys, trying to make them better, trying to pour into them, it's just so much fun, and you enjoy it, and you get to see them have progress. You get to see them compete at the highest level. You know, fans, everybody else, right? It shows up in wins on Saturdays, and I think what's going to happen is we're going to start getting that going. And there's other times at practice I won't say a word for 30 minutes. It's because, okay, where do they need the energy? Where's that passion got to come for? No different. There's times on the sidelines, you know, the whole fourth quarter, we keep doing what we need to. We get the stops, and there's no need for me to show that. But at halftime, no different. And look, the ebbs and flows of a football game, I'll be pretty calm, cool, and collected, but when they need it, we'll bring it out.
You're an offensive guy, also a little bit of a defensive guy. We're going to talk about that because, you know, I don't think people realize, yeah, you just mentioned it, defensive line coach as well. So you know what it takes to win football games. You know it starts in the trenches. That's where your bread and butter, right? That's where you came from. For you, what kind of players do you want? Not talking specifics, but who do you want? What kind of mindset do you want of your players, and what physical attributes do you want from your players as well?
For sure. It always starts with guys that love football. You talked about the passion and the energy. I want people that walk in this building, they're just as excited I am to go out there and practice, to work out. I don't care if it's a 6 a.m. and we're out there in the cold. They're excited to put in the work because they know the results will come. They're process-oriented. So tough, smart guys that love football. Oh, and by the way, we're going to find a lot of speed around here. There's plenty of the speed in this region for sure. But ultimately, they're going to play for the name on the front just as much as the name on the back. And we're going to bring that pride back about it. And you have the opportunity when you get to sit with a recruit face to face or a current player and say, okay, tell me what really gets you going. What's your why? And you can look them in the eye. And as long as they don't say, hey, the first thing's money, then maybe you got a chance. And if they tell you they love to work, they tell you they want to be held accountable, they want to be pushed, they want to be challenged, and that everything's important to them, then you got a chance. I tell our guys all the time, okay, what are your goals? First off, what's your personal goal? Okay, you want to read the Bible for 10 minutes every night. That's great. Okay, what's your weight room goal? Okay, great. What's your football specific goal? Not that you want to be an All-American linebacker, something that I can measure every single day. Maybe you want to work on your linear foot speed. Great, I can measure that every single day. And then lastly, right, what else do you want to accomplish? What's your academic goal? It's a 3.6 GPA. You told me your goals. Now it's my job to hold you accountable. It's my job to serve you, right, by providing structure, okay, by providing standards and holding you accountable. And I want guys that want that, that are yearning for that. And ultimately, guess what? It's going to turn into a lot of good football playing in between the white lines.
You mentioned speed there. You had some physical guys at Memphis too. So how do you balance that in the off season and in the weight room? Do you kind of place an emphasis on, okay, we want to get speedy guys out of the portal or recruit speedy guys, and then we'll get the physicality? How do you prioritize that?
Sure, I think so much of it is you have to have speed, right? What you don't want, I don't care what any position, you don't want anybody, they don't move real well. They can't play. They can't play in the SEC, they can't play in Division III. If they don't move well and they can't bend and they don't have the flexibility, they can't play football at Arkansas, much less in any other place. And so ultimately, how well do they move? It's not just, hey, do they run that 4.35? That's great. We'll take some of those guys if they're listening, for sure. But ultimately, you need guys that can move, they can bend, they can do all those things, right? We don't need a bunch of 360-pound O linemen that can't move. Can they bend? Are they able to run the variety of schemes that we're going to run? Can they pass protect? And so, listen, each person's individualized, right? You know, if it's a 6'8", 330-pound offensive tackle, that's great. But I don't need the 6 foot, 228-pound corner, right? That guy's probably not going to move as smooth as we want. Figure out where they're at, what's their football IQ, and they're a good fit for our culture.
Absolutely. Talking about the offense a little bit more with you. Obviously, your offense is at Memphis, electric, high scoring, fast paced, with even a balance. I know you like to run the ball, but you also like to pass it too. Is that something that you're going to implement here? Is that the offensive philosophy here at Arkansas? Are you willing to change it based on personnel?
Any head coach that's not willing to change their scheme based off personnel is shame on them. It's about their ego. And I think one of the reasons why everybody says, well, Ryan, why'd you have sustained success? Right? Every year wasn't perfect at Memphis, but on an offensive standpoint over the last 10 years, really, if you balance it all out, measure it all out, probably a top 10 offense when it's all said and done for 10 years. And that's consistency. Different quarterbacks, right? Every year, different things, different guys, different systems. But we have to fit the scheme around our players. Now, ideally, if we're able to line up and run the ball down somebody's throat for 80% of the time of the game, we're going to do that. If they're going to load the box and take that away, then we're going to pass the ball 80% of the time. People say, well, do you like a running quarterback? Do you do those things? Listen, what do we have in the locker room, right? What are we bringing in from the portal? Does it make sense? And if it does, cool, we'll fit the scheme around them. That's the great thing about this offense. We've got to be flexible for what we have. Does this call for 2 tight ends in this? Or we have 3 tight ends? Do we have 2 lighter running backs? Do we play with a fullback? I'm going to match it with our personnel. We've got plenty of scheme and X's. I'm not worried about that. It's about finding the right personnel that fit ultimately what we want to do. But whatever we end up with, now bending the scheme and shaping around what they're capable of doing.
I know Arkansas fans like to hear that from you. That's great. Defensive side of the ball, that's where Arkansas's struggled. And you know that. You've seen the film. You played them, right? I mean, you just know that. Defensive philosophy, you have coached on the defensive side of the ball. What's your defensive philosophy look like? I know that you guys force a lot of turnovers at Memphis as well. That's Arkansas fans like to hear that too. What do you feel like the defense will look like here at Arkansas?
Sure. Well, going back to even talking about the success as an offense, right? They got to work hand in hand with what the defense is all about. If the offense isn't taking care of the football, right, and they're not playing sound and there's a lot of penalties, that ultimately is going to affect the defense and field position. So everybody wants to sit here and say, just fix our defense. Well, if the offense doesn't take care of the football, if the offense is fumbling, if we're throwing interceptions, right, if we're not making sound decisions, getting all those penalties, that is going to have a direct effect on the defense. Everybody wants to point the finger one way. Heck no, we got to get that fixed. And then you talk about getting takeaways on defense. That's where it all starts, right? You get the takeaways, you give the offense more opportunities to go score points. Okay, defensively, right, we're going to be based out of a 4-down system. We're going to be able to move guys, be multiple in the front. But we need guys that can run in the secondary. I think that's part of it, right? Guys that are willing to be physical, but guys that can run. I don't want to sit there and say, oh, we can't match up with this receiver because we don't have the speed. No, shame on us. That means we didn't do our job of either retaining the right type of player or going out and getting those guys. I still believe that guys need to be developed. That's one of the things we didn't even talk about altogether. Recruiting high school guys, developing. There's some guys on this roster that I think are close, but with the coaching and the development, I think have the opportunity to go out there and play at a high level in defense. But this isn't coach speak. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to attack. I think a lot of people want to sit there and say, yeah, no, we're just going to sit back and be a bend, don't break defense. BS. No, we're going to get after some people. We've got some pieces in place, and we're excited.
Coach, you talk about getting the personnel that fits what you want. You had Quincy Rhodes say he was coming back. KJ Jackson, I don't think those are the last guys who you're going to get to return to this team. But what were the conversations like? What was your sales pitch to those guys?
For sure. Listen, this is a credit to what Arkansas is. This is a credit to this great state, the great fans. Because you think about this, those high school kids that signed and flipped, right? Those kids that say they were coming back, they didn't know who their coaches were. They had no idea who their position coaches were. They had no idea what their scheme fit was. But I was able to sit down with them face to face and share my vision with them. They were able to see my passion from the get-go. Some of those guys I had built relationships with in the past. I joke around, I was Quincy Rhodes' first offer out of high school. And he still remembers that. And to this day, I think that's important. They understand the type of man I am, what I'm all about, and how I'm going to pour into them and serve them. I jokingly said it a couple days ago. I said, like, you guys think I did some damage, and I don't take all the credit. Again, it's about, this place is all about the great people here. Those were why the kids wanted to stay, why they said they were going to returning. No different than right before I came down here, I got guys saying, I'm coming back, and excited to be a part of what we're going to build here and build it quickly, okay? And I think just people understanding, hey, this is what this guy's all about, and this is what this thing's going to look like in the future.
And it's also about getting the coaches around them, right? And I know you're building your staff, no specifics or anything there, but you want guys that share that vision, right? That all-in mentality you talk about, right? What does that mean? For people who are going, okay, is that coach speak, or what is this all-in mentality to you, to Ryan Silverfield?
Yeah, listen, when you talk about being all-in, it's a full commitment to everything you do. And when we're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds, much less 45-year-olds, right, are you fully committed to what you say you're going to do? Are you truly all in? And I sit there and talk about these guys like, I don't want guys that are one toe in the water. I'm not sure if I want to be a part of this. I'm not sure if the workout's for me today. Oh, it's the fourth quarter. We hit a little adversity, right? Are you truly all in? Are you truly going to give everything in your heart and soul to make this thing work? I don't give a damn if it's changing light bulbs or it's 4th and 1 with a game on the line. Are you truly all in? Are you really about what it takes to be successful? And that's what creates the culture. And without going too far down a rabbit hole, right? Like each one of those letters stands for something. That A stands for attitude. These guys have full control of their attitude every single day, all right? When we talk about being all in, that first L, all right, stands for little things. What we just touched on, how you do anything is how you do everything. I saw a kid park in the wrong parking spot. I ran out of the building, went and told him to move his car. He probably even know I was the new head coach. I think it was some student worker, but whatever. He had to go park in the right spot. That's so important to me. No different than what we're going to attack academics, community service, all those things. Those things are very, very important to our success. That next L in the all stands for love. I told you, and I've been saying it all along, we're going to pour into these guys. We're going to love them. We're going to coach them hard. And that love piece is that accountability, right? That I stands for intelligence. We are going to have the smartest team every time we take the field. Nobody says, what do you mean by that? I'm not just talking about a team GPA of maybe a 3.5 GPA. That's great. We're going to teach these guys about everything that goes on in the world, society, make them better educated. Maybe say, get off the TikTok. Maybe read a book at night. Make yourself better. But also, hey, how much film have you studied? How much have you truly prepared on your own? So when you line up, you understand, hey, the back's offset to that side, tight end's over here. This is the run play that's occurring. This is what's about to happen, right? We want to have the smartest team on the field. And lastly, that N stands for now. Have a sense of urgency, all right? So when we talk about being all in, right? Let's have a sense of urgency with that, and that means for now. So all in, full buy-in with everything we want to do all the time.
Man, I'm all in right now.
Let's go. Go get your helmet and shoulder pads. You got practice in 30 minutes. Let's
go.
Great,
awesome. You ready for me? I'm not an offensive lineman. I don't think I can do that.
That's right. As long as you can run, we'll figure it out.
As long as I can run. I love it, Coach. Okay, so we've talked about that all-in mentality. You talk about the guys that you have recruited from around the state. Building relationships with coaches in Arkansas. That is something huge that I feel like has been done in the past, but not to the point where it needs to be, where you build those relationships with the coaches here, high school coaches. You already have a relationship with those guys, and you've been cultivating some of that while you're at Memphis. Why is that so important for you to have a relationship with the local high school coaches here, and hopefully keep more of those in-state guys playing for the Razorbacks?
For sure. Well, I understand, like, listen, you're playing for the entire state. When I first got to Memphis, right, one of the first things someone did is they took me up to the top of the Bass Pro Shop pyramid, and they pointed out and say, see that bridge over there? I go, yeah, what's that? They go, that's the bridge that goes to Arkansas. I said, wow, it's so close. And we did a nice job of recruiting the area. So I got to meet some of those head coaches, the coaches in this great state early on, 10, 11 years ago, and got to build those relationships and recruit this area and bring some of those guys to Memphis, which was great for me to build those relationships. I think about this 9 years ago, I got to speak at the Arkansas High School Coaches Association. This past year, I was supposed to be the main guest speaker. Well, my wife was pregnant and we had these two beautiful girls, so I had to pass on that, but I know next year I'm already set and ready to roll for it. But I just think about these guys. It's important to them to keep them here. We're going to continue to build those relationships, and ultimately, I think it's going to put together a lot of great recruiting classes and a lot of productive football here for the Razorbacks.
I think it also breed a really sense of confidence around the state. The one thing is that Arkansas loves to keep those players, the talented players, here in state playing for the Razorbacks. So I think you're off to a great start on that. We'll see what else you can do. Coach, we're running out of time. Really quickly, I want to end on some nice questions here. Your wife, Katie, you gave a lot of love to her in the press conference. You have two beautiful daughters. How did you meet her? What has she meant to you throughout your coaching journey?
Yeah, you can see I get choked up just thinking about, what she's done for me and our family. Those girls are everything. And got to meet her. She's Memphis. She went to another SEC school. I won't mention that by name.
I don't.
Yeah, we'll keep that out. And, the ultimate opportunity to meet her and say, listen, will you make this journey with me? And she's been supportive all along the way. And we couldn't be more thrilled and fired up to raise our girls in this beautiful community.
I know you haven't spent super long here in Fayetteville just yet, but what has been your favorite thing about Arkansas so far?
Well, it's the people. First off, I haven't seen Fayetteville during the day yet. I think, maybe Christmas Day, I'll get out of the office, see some daylight, walk around campus, see this beautiful place. It looks gorgeous at night, but it's the people. Everyone here has been so supportive. Everyone's here just been so encouraging, whether it's walking by a student on the sidewalk, seeing people all around. Everyone just wants to see this place succeed. They want to be all in with what we're doing. And that makes me happy. It's the people that make the place, and man, this place is special.
What's something Arkansas fans don't know about you yet that might be a fun fact?
Listen, what they don't know is they're going to see that passion, that energy, but they don't understand how much I'm going to care for these kids so quickly. People always say, Coach, sometimes after games, you don't get as excited, you don't seem as happy, partially because it's all about the way we played. But then when you find ways to play and the way they go about their ability, if they play with resiliency and it shows up, then sometimes I'm really emotional, because to me, that's showing up what we've been coaching, what we've been preaching. And that means we're making a difference in these guys' lives.
Favorite holiday tradition? We're in the Christmas time.
Yeah, listen, this will be my first holidays with the girls, and I'm excited for that. I'm probably going to spoil them to death, and this is just the beginning of way too many gifts for those little girls, But I think just the opportunity to be around family. This time next year, hopefully we're preparing for not sitting around, not practicing. I enjoy football during the holidays. That means we're playing postseason and beyond. And that's what we got to get back to. I don't like the fact that I had time to sit down and do this today. I wish I was out there at practice and saying, hey, no, I'll get back with you in January when we're done playing football.
Well, we appreciate you for taking the time to sit down with us today. Thank you so much, Coach Silverfield. We appreciate you, and seriously, thank you for the time.
Absolutely thrilled to be here. Look forward to many more visits.